Erika still refuses to admit Tom is guilty. I get that when the allegations first came out, fraud, stolen money, victims calling her a monster, people expected her to show some sympathy. And honestly, I understood her approach back then. When your husband is being accused of serious crimes and your finances are tangled up in it, it's probably smart not to start speculating publicly. So sure, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. But that was then. Now, Tom has been convicted. Convicted, it's over. The time for vague answers and neutral statements is behind us. And yet, when Andy asked her point blank, "Do you think he's guilty now?" she still danced around it. Her response? Basically, "It doesn't matter whether or not he's guilty." Excuse me, what? Yes, it does matter. It matters a lot, especially to the audience, who, might be curious how his wife feels about being married to someone who defrauded vulnerable people. Is she shocked? Hurt? Angry? Betrayed? Any reaction at all? But nope, nothing. She gave us absolutely nothing. Like, what would be the harm in saying, "I'm devastated. I can't believe the man I was married to for so long did this. My heart goes out to the victims." That would be human, empathetic, normal. But no, Erika's PR strategy seems to be, let me make myself look as cold and unsympathetic as possible. And yes, I do get that she has her own legal issues to deal with. If Tom's guilty, there's a chance that reflects back on her. But come on, people acting surprised she won't say the obvious. She's still facing court cases. Of course, she's not going to publicly declare, "Yup, he did it." She's not confused. She's being strategic. Whether that strategy is working for her image is another question entirely. So Kyle's show is on season 7 now, and I can't help but wonder, why does she keep insisting on calling it her scripted show? Like, seriously, why the need to keep reminding us? She always says, "Yeah, my scripted show," as if scripted is some kind of disclaimer we desperately need. I mean, is she worried we'll confuse it with a documentary? Why not just say, "Yeah, my show," and leave it at that? Not being snarky, just genuinely curious here. From what I gather, though, I think it's all about managing expectations. Her sisters were apparently super freaked out that their mom might look bad on the show, which, if you ask me, says a lot about them. So Kyle probably thought she needed to emphasize that, hey, it's scripted, so don't freak out if some things are a little, let's say, embellished. I guess what she's really trying to say is that it's based on her childhood, but not exactly like it went down in real life. And yeah, I know it's an odd comparison, but think about shows like The Waltons or Little House on the Prairie. They're based on real events. But do you honestly think every single thing that happened on those shows is a factual retelling? Of course not. Like in Little House, Mary never got married, had kids, or ran a blind school. And Nellie Olson? Not a real person. She was an exaggeration of 3 girls Laura Ingalls Wilder knew growing up. Mrs. Olson? Actually Mrs. Nelson, and shocker, she was actually nice. So in the grand scheme of things, Kyle's scripted show is probably doing the same thing. It's inspired by real life, but definitely not a blow-by-blow retelling. But sure, Kyle, keep hammering home that it's scripted just in case we start thinking it's actually a documentary. Imagine an ultimate girls' trip with Denise, Garcelle, and Rinna. Would anyone actually watch that? I'm totally here for the idea of these 3, once longtime friends and industry veterans, finally coming together, airing out their grievances, and actually having some fun. The best part? No more RHOBH alliances or production interference, just them, real and raw. But then again, I have a soft spot for Rinna that most people don't, so maybe I'm a little biased. Do I think Denise will ever team up with Rinna again? Absolutely not. Not unless Rinna shows up genuinely wanting to mend their friendship. But let's be real, Rinna's all about the theatrics. Everything she does feels so performative at this point. It stopped being entertaining a while ago. Would anyone else be into this though, or is it just me, holding out hope for some real drama between the 3? The girls in their soda. Has anyone noticed that over the years, the girls have completely ditched diet soda for the real thing? Now, it's all about regular Coca-Cola. Why the switch? Oh, maybe it's because diet soda is super healthy, right? Oh wait, no, sugar is the real villain here. Honestly, it's probably a sponsor thing. Different brand deals, same questionable choices. But here's my theory. These girls barely eat, so they probably see that Coke as a treat. You know, a little something sweet to look forward to in the middle of a diet that's otherwise all about air and dreams. Not to speculate or anything, but I'm guessing some of them might be on weight loss meds. Not judging, just a thought. So a few grams of sugar in their drink is probably negligible compared to their overall intake. Maybe the diet soda was just a way to keep the calories in check, but now? Well, the soda's probably the only cheat in their day. But hey, that's just my 2 cents. Oh, Kathy's laugh during Kyle's talk about her sexuality. Let's just say it was something, wasn't it? I couldn't be the only one who felt like it was totally uncomfortable and, frankly, giving off some serious homophobic vibes. I mean, you could practically see Kathy trying to maintain her perfect Hilton image. And let's face it, having a gay sister definitely doesn't fit into that glossy picture she's got going on. Add to that her little comment about wanting Kyle and Mauricio to get back together, and yeah, it's like she just dropped a truth bomb. She cares way more about her image than anything else, including her own family. Honestly, I know no one wants to say it out loud, but Kathy Hilton, total villain. Rinna was right on the money with that one. I hated watching it. It was awkward, and Kyle was visibly uncomfortable, like you could see the frustration and anger in her. I get it. Some people laugh when they're really triggered or deeply uncomfortable. It's that weird emotional distress response. A therapist would probably have a field day with that moment. But watching Kathy laugh like that, despite all her supportive words, it was obvious she was uncomfortable. That laugh wasn't cute. It was a defense mechanism, a shield against whatever was going on inside her. Honestly, I almost felt bad for both of them. Here's Kyle, trying to be honest and assertive, and there's Kathy, making an absolute mess of things with her fragile, socially awkward self. It was painful to watch, but man, it made for great TV. As for Kathy's behavior, it wasn't just about homophobia. It was more about the sheer absurdity of the entire situation. You'd think Kathy already knew Kyle's sexuality, but I guess she couldn't really say anything until Kyle officially came out. And let's be real, her laughter was more performative than anything, like she was trying to make the moment light when it was anything but. What really struck me, though, was when Andy brought up Kim. You could just see Kyle freeze up, terrified that Kathy would get all offended or defensive. It's clear Kathy was brushing things aside like she didn't want to acknowledge the bigger issue. And yeah, the idea of having a bisexual sister. Definitely not in Kathy's perfect, pristine world. Oh, Season 4 of RHOBH. A true exercise in what the hell is happening. I'm with you on the rage. The way they treat Joyce is infuriating. The woman is a goddess, gorgeous as hell, and comes across as genuinely sweet. And then there's Brandy, just projecting her insecurities all over the place. I swear, it's like watching a high school bully gang up on the new kid, and it's beyond frustrating. Honestly, I can't even wrap my head around the trio of Brandy, Yolanda, and Carlton. If I could, I'd put them in jail for the emotional torture they put Joyce through. It's just, seriously, someone tell me they get their comeuppance because it's driving me nuts how awful they are to her. And don't even get me started on the season itself. I don't consider it canon either. Joyce and Carlton were such awkward additions. They didn't have any real connection to the group, which made the whole thing feel off. I get what you mean about newbies needing some kind of history with the others, but nope, these two were just plopped into the drama. Joyce was cool though, and Carlton? She was kinda entertaining, especially when she got under Kyle's skin. But let's talk about real karma for a second. Joyce, still stunning and happily married. Brandy, a hot mess as usual. Carlton? Yeah, she got divorced and ended up in some pretty rough photos. Yolanda? Divorce and a whole mess with her daughter's baby daddy situation. If karma exists, Joyce is definitely the one winning this round. Garcelle quit the show because she was done with Sutton. Let's be real, she couldn't stand any of the other ladies from the start. She stuck around because of her friendship with Sutton and, of course, the paycheck. But after watching her supposed BFF completely drop the ball and not back her up when she needed it most, yeah, that was the final straw. Side note, can we talk about Kyle's creepy little smile after Garcelle walks out? It seriously gives off some villain in a soap opera energy. And Erika? Oh, she was loving that moment too. Honestly, how many think pieces are we going to have about the same thing? Why not just wait for Garcelle to speak for herself instead of speculating? I do think you're right though. Garcelle got a little boost when she joined, but she's been so busy with other projects. The show was fun for the trips, the glam, and the cash, but once the friendship with Sutton hit rock bottom, she had zero reason to stay. So you know what? Go ahead and be fabulous, Garcelle. Sutton is, without a doubt, the definition of self-absorbed. I've always noticed how she has this uncanny ability to turn everything into her moment. And when she's not the center of attention, she makes sure to ask those loaded, attention-grabbing questions to pull the spotlight back onto her. But this reunion, watching it was pure torture. Garcelle was sitting there, struggling, feeling isolated and unsupported, and every time they were alone, Sutton somehow still made it all about her. Take the lunch break, for example. Garcelle was clearly having a hard time, but even then, she found a way to be there for Sutton. And then, in part 3 on the couches, Garcelle says she's done answering questions, and Sutton, she's still going on about how much everyone hates her. Garcelle was over it. She just couldn't take any more. Being Sutton's daughter must be a nightmare. Narcissistic parents are the worst, and I honestly think her daughter is so well-adjusted because she's had to grow up in that chaos. Seriously, she deserves a medal for just surviving it. I don't pick sides. I don't like the FF5 or S&G, but let's be real, Sutton will never fit in with the Barbies because she's way too erratic. Just look at the Magic Mike incident, or when she casually says, "I've been putting out fires all morning," right after Kyle drops the bomb that Dorrit was held at gunpoint. The way she treats Garcelle is another classic example. She's demanding loyalty and understanding, but has zero interest in offering either in return. To me, Sutton just screams insecurity. She clearly has a lot of people around her enabling her behavior, and it shows when she's met with anything other than praise. Honestly, kudos to Garcelle for getting out of that toxic friendship. Sutton's the kind of friend who just drains you dry. I really don't get why people are only now starting to notice this. Sutton's been acting this way since the very first season. Everyone was so quick to buy into her quirky Southern charm, but that's always been a cover for her self-centeredness. Garcelle had no choice but to be her friend, because the Fox Force 5 weren't exactly rolling out the welcome mat. At the end of the day, Sutton's whole vibe is rooted in the fact that she doesn't have a solid place in her own life. She's divorced, her daughter's grown up and moved on, she's got no relationship with her mom, and her dad is dead. It's no wonder she views every connection as some kind of transaction. She doesn't seem to feel much of anything, good or bad, for anyone. It's like she's just existing, constantly climbing social ladders, chasing approval she'll never find. She hasn't done any self-reflection, has no clue what it means to be genuinely happy, and is just letting all her unresolved issues fester. It's honestly pretty tragic. Denise, a notorious liar? Yeah, I'm watching season 10 and am almost through the final scenes, and I've got to say, I started to suspect something wasn't adding up with her whole Brandy situation. It's the way she dodged questions and came up with endless excuses. It screamed, "I'm covering something up." But honestly, by the end of the reunion episodes, It was exhausting how everyone kept grilling her about whether or not they had sex. I get that people were curious, but it's really none of their business. Even though, yeah, I was kind of curious too. Still, when you watch those reunion episodes, it's like a masterclass in gaslighting. Every time someone asked her a direct question, she'd throw out some random, irrelevant question in response, or just straight up lie. Maybe it's just me, but it seemed so obvious. Now, let's talk about Brandy's story. It's full of holes. First, she claims Aaron told her about this understanding between him and Denise. Then, she says Denise told her. At one point, Brandy makes it sound like this affair went on for ages, but then she says it was just a one-time thing. She even adds that she couldn't get into it because they were in a loft with no doors. What? And then there's something else that I'm not even going to repeat. Classic Brandy though, right? Then we get to Kyle's charity event, before everything blew up. Aaron barely acknowledges Brandy, and then he bolts when she suggests a threesome. But the biggest red flag for me? Brandy acting so concerned about being involved in any cheating, especially because of her past trauma. If she was really that concerned, why not just ask Aaron directly? And if she did, what's the issue with that? Denise, on the other hand, can't seem to get her story straight. Sometimes she's completely with it. Other times, it's like she's either too high or too drunk to even defend herself properly. So, I just watched all 3 parts of the reunion, and honestly, I'm left wondering, why on earth is Garcelle supposed to be Sutton's babysitter? It's honestly laughable. Every little thing about Sutton, whether she said it, did it, or didn't do it, somehow turned into a big Garcelle. What do you think about this? Seriously, what did Garcelle think when Sutton said this? What did Garcelle think when Sutton did that? What did Garcelle think when Sutton stayed quiet for 2 seconds? Like, does anyone else find it a bit much? Everyone looked at Garcelle with this disappointed, disapproving glare, expecting her to somehow control Sutton's every move, even though Garcelle was either neutral or called Sutton out when she was in the wrong. And then Garcelle starts crying. She literally said, "Nobody smiled at me except at the very beginning." Wow, is it because everyone knows that her friendship with Sutton is the only real one on the show? If that's the case, then next season's going to be a complete dumpster fire, because clearly Garcelle and Sutton are the only ones who have any actual loyalty to each other. But at this point, Garcelle's role on the show is just to defend Sutton 24/7, even when Sutton's being a total disaster. It's almost like she's stuck in a toxic relationship she can't get out of. And poor Sutton, she's the one who would totally sink without Garcelle there to save her. Their friendship is the only real thing happening on this show, and Sutton, she's too busy licking up to Kyle to realize what she's losing with Garcelle. Like, it's almost painful to watch her desperately try to be Kyle's favorite, completely oblivious to the fact that Garcelle has had her back the whole time. But Garcelle, she's always been Sutton's biggest defender, even when Sutton's dead wrong. I mean, Garcelle doesn't exactly speak up when Sutton messes up, does she? And then, surprise, surprise, Garcelle's big reunion storyline? Dorrit's robbery and Morgan. That's about it. Can we get some new material, please?